Again, welcome back to Inverted Pursuits Laboratory. And this week, I am joined by my girlfriend Kelsie, and we are working on a project. A previous high school teacher of mine asked that I do to record some discussions over transitions between high school to college to the real world, and just how your general passions can influence your career path and what you want to do. So let's get started. So, initially, you guys are going from high school into college, and you guys are all coming in from Summit Tech Academy. This is just a strange time for you guys as an alumni of there. I get that it's strange because you're going from basically learning college material and sophomore, junior level college material back to your basic engineering and basic freshman classes, which involve your English, your math, your history, and you just have to take them. And you're going to feel like everything you just learned is irrelevant because you're not there yet. It just takes a while to get there, unfortunately, and you have to be patient and not think that, oh, I want to be learning what I was learning previously, because unfortunately, you're not going to. They've got to keep up with the average incoming student, and you're the above average incoming student.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I came from a very, very small rural school that did not have any sort of technical program or engineering program or anything like that. So I was coming in as the below average student and had to fight tooth and nail to stay on the same level as all the other average students. So please don't take this amazing program you guys have available to you for granted, because it is an awesome, awesome opportunity for you guys to get ahead of the game coming into an engineering college like S&T.
Yeah, and another thing that will surprise a lot of you guys is you keep hearing college is a 4 year program, college is a 4 year program. Engineering is a 5 year program, minimum, usually 5 years. I was five and a half going through. Kelsey's one of the rarer ones doing it in four.
And I have an extremely high course load and no social life because of it.
Yeah, and a lot of things you've also got to think, like, how much do you want to be involved in activities outside of just your classwork? Because future job potential is going to highly look at whether you're involved in on-campus activities or even off-campus activities, and what you do with your time. And while holding an 18 credit hour course load will get you through in 4 years, it doesn't give you a lot of the experience companies want, even to get internships. One of the things you'll have to be looking for when you get on campus is often you're looking for ways to fit in. And design teams, organizations, and such are great ways to do it. Now, design team is a word a lot of colleges don't use, but both of us are Missouri S&T students and alumni, so they're called design teams down there. I was part of the Mars rover design team, rocket design team.
Yeah, I'm on a rocket design team. There is also the MSAT research.
Oh yeah,
The
that's a research group.
Yeah, it's like a design team, but it's actually research based nano satellite development.
Although it
And
is one of the only research groups that develops a product for an end flight.
yes, we are. Some of the projects are sponsored by the Air Force. Another one, the one I'm working on currently, is sponsored by NASA. So it's a lot of really cool programs that are available.
There's a lot of cool things that you can get to do on campus. You just have to look for those opportunities.
And you really need to find your fit. Like, the people you will be around so much dictate how much you enjoy the program. Like, you found a family with Rover. I felt like I found my family with
Yep.
Rocket. And my extended family with MSAT. Like, it's each person, each team or organization has its own, like, personality type, really. And it's not, don't feel bad about exploring all the different organizations you might be interested in, and just going to a couple meetings here or there until you find your fit. The design teams are really good about trying to find where you fit, even if it's not on the team you start
Yep.
with. I know, like, I've sent people away from Rocket over to Rover because they end up liking that a whole lot more.
I've
And
sent kids over to Solar Car Formula. I mean, S&T has 20 some odd design teams now. It's a lot. It was 21-ish, 22-ish when I graduated, and I know there's more that have started since then. And a lot of colleges only have usually one or two design groups that do these competitions. Usually you're going to be looking for things like Baja, Formula SAE, the other ones, There occasionally will be a rocket team, occasionally a plane team. Steel bridge is fairly common. Engineering without borders is fairly common. And solar car is more common than you would think, but it's only at some of the larger colleges around.
The higher funded.
Yeah, it's a fairly expensive project, obviously, solar powered vehicles. Another thing you'll look for is sometimes you can find a fit in an on-campus job, whether that's being an RA or actually working in one of the offices, whether it's like a career advancement office, the registrar's office.
Or your department office. I have friends that work as secretaries in their actual department office underneath the professors that they go to class with every day.
You can also get jobs working underneath professors.
Yes, research opportunities are huge in a lot of campuses. That's where a lot of universities get their money. And so that's also great, looks great on a resume. It's great experience for hands-on learning.
I ended up working for a department at the university, and I was actually working for the department that runs all of the design teams. At S&T, that is called the Student Design and Experiential Learning Center, also known as SDELC. Please fit word here. And I was just a general technician and a tour guide as needed. So I helped fix the machines, sweep the floors. Every summer we stripped and waxed all of the floors. I mean, sometimes you end up doing some very menial tasks because they just are what need to be done. And other times you're going with teams to where they need to go get stuff done because you're given the opportunities to drive them, and or you're the one with the keys that needs to go get stuff for them. So you get a lot of cool opportunities. That's what allowed me to learn about all of the different design teams, because I was constantly getting asked, since I was friends with a lot of these kids, to go and help them get something out of our cold storage locations or out of locker rooms as they were getting ready to head for their competitions. So there are opportunities that you wouldn't have thought about in different departments and areas.
That's how you and I actually met, was when you were working at the design center.
Yep. So for a while at the Student Design Center at S&T, I was giving the trainings on all the equipment, a lot of the basic level trainings, some of the higher up ones, while we had one of our staff there was out that gives normal trainings, taught me how to do them. And then it actually allowed us, once he came back from a trip with the team, to increase the amount of trainings we were able to. Very handy and helped get a lot of students up to speed.
And more students were able to get more involved in their projects and even more experience and hands-on learning.
Yep, many things. And we've kind of flowed into college activities and clubs and organizations. What else do we want to hit?
Adulting is hard.
Yeah. So for a lot of you guys, and I would guess all of you guys, this is your first time on your own. You're going from being a senior in high school, maybe you're a junior, but in a year or two, you're going to be a senior here, and you're heading off to your freshman year of college. And most of you guys, this is your first time leaving home. And I actually bet all of you guys. Some of you may be going to a JUCO for a couple of years, and then you'll be heading down. But once you get down there, you've got to learn how to hold your own budget, make your own plans. You don't have your parents giving you a curfew anymore.
Do laundry on a regular basis. Do dishes on a regular basis.
Your roommate will genuinely appreciate if you take a shower on a regular basis, if you do your laundry.
It's a whole nother thing, roommates trying to find someone who their schedule matches with yours and their lifestyle matches with yours. Just because you wake up at the same time does not mean that you two will get along.
Or just because you have the same type of interest does not mean you hold the same schedule. I had a roommate where he went to bed at 8 on a regular basis, 8 p.m., and I was going to bed at 4 a.m. And when I'm going to bed halfway through his sleep cycle and he's getting up halfway through mine, it wreaked havoc on both of us. Yeah. And just things you don't think about when you're a freshman, like applying for sophomore roommates, and you're like, yeah, this guy's my friend, we're gonna be roommates next year. And it doesn't matter how much you like the person, you'll end up getting pissed at each other just because lack of sleep does that.
And stress.
Oh yeah. College is stressful. Oh, our notes fell asleep.
We did actually prepare for this, believe it or not.
I won't believe it, but yeah.
Don't get a criminal record in college. That was one of the things you wanted to hit on.
Yeah, so I bet your parents have harped on it 1,000 times. Mine harped it on it a lot. Is that everything you do, you really have to think about it, because everything relates impact your future potential to get a job. And you're thinking, it's college. It's just college. Yeah, you're right. It is just college. But if you're out doing something stupid and you get caught and you get a record for it, it will come up, especially if you're applying for some of the higher um, paying jobs and higher positions
Or
within
even if you're
engineering.
if you're going into government work,
Yeah.
that'll really flag you for things.
Yeah, government work requires background checks for clearances, and most jobs now are starting to do background checks just in general. And things like that that come up are give them flags like, are you trustworthy enough to like be working on our sensitive data that's like proprietary or actually classified? Like you just don't know what could come up when, and if you do have things on your record, that doesn't necessarily negate you from getting a job, but you need to be sure, even if it's been expunged, put it on there. Tell them that you had this happen once and it's been expunged from your record, but it was there once, because it may or may not become unsealed at some point, because there are organizations that will go around and get sealed records unsealed without telling you. So you really have to be careful what's going to happen. And
It's not to say don't have fun in college. Definitely enjoy your experience, because that's something I kind of regret, honestly, that I really have not had a social life, and I'm a senior in college who hasn't gone to a single party or anything like that. Which, like, don't make bad choices, kids, but don't kill yourself in your coursework and your studies so much so that you hate going to class or you hate being in college. Like, still make sure you enjoy yourself, but be safe.
if you can go hang out with friends, if they invite you to go hang out, having a social life is a huge part of getting through school. Our favorite statement down at S&T is collaborate to graduate. I mean, you're not going to get through the course load. Sure, okay, you're a genius IQ kid and you get a 4.0 all the way through. We have those. But the average student at S&T needs help. And you need your friends to help you where you're stuck, because half the time the professor, nice as they are, they don't know why you're stuck.
They're on such a high level that
Yeah, it's
a
like
lot of times it's really hard for them to come down to our level.
normal people talk about here, engineering students talk about here, PhD professors are somewhere up here, and they just can't come down to what we're trying to ask them. And we're trying to ask them probably such a menial and unintelligent question in their view that it's easier to ask it to a peer. And finding that group of friends that you can work with, and oftentimes they'll end up being in your major, but having friends that are like English majors,
Oh,
saving grace when you're an engineer.
technical communications majors are also really great resources.
Yeah.
And definitely go talk to your professor and like try and get answers from your professors, definitely, but a lot of times it's a lot easier to work with a group and send one person who has all of your questions into the professor, get all that list of questions answered in one go, and then you go off and spread that knowledge back to your friend group. I know my group's done that a lot. And it's one of the most efficient systems that we've come up with, is we'll just send one person in with all of the questions, and then...
And sometimes you'll have a question
so
that you don't want to go ask the professor, and your friend can answer.
Yeah, and then sometimes it's not worth bothering the professor for things where it's, yeah.
Like, if you fundamentally don't understand the topic, you should probably go see the professor, but if you're like, I don't understand why there's a squared function in this thing, your friend probably knows why.
Yeah, and TAs are also really great help a lot of times, but sometimes, like, remember, they are grad students most of the time, and they are also dying just as much as you are, so it can be hard to get them to sit down and actually explain things to you, because they are also just as stressed and just as busy as you are.
Yeah, grad students, you have to remember, as much as they look like they have nothing to do, their entire job is to work for a professor and do exactly what he needs. Either that's filling in for a class for him, or grading papers, or then also working on the research project that they're supposed to be doing for their graduate research, plus whatever classes they have. And the first 2 years of grad school, you have a lot of classes. That's not just so. And I got plenty of friends that are in grad school that can go ahead and correct me. Have fun. I don't know everything. I didn't take the GRE. I didn't do any of that.
Leave it in the comments.
Have fun. As crazy as it seems, you're actually going to be applying for jobs and internships, and probably within the next year or so now, as you're going into your freshman year, especially the first semester freshman year, you're going to try and see if you can even scrounge up anything. Some of you may even be trying to get something between high school and college, which you can do. It's hard, but you can do it. You can get an internship, you can get a job, you can
No, my dad got
something.
an internship going into college.
Yeah.
And he's
I,
worked for the same company all his life.
yeah, I've had friends that have had internships coming into college, and we're just like, dang, how do you do that? A lot of it's just they had people they knew or connections. Connections are the biggest thing when it comes to jobs. As much as your own academic standing will help you, a friend to get your foot in the door is saving grace because sometimes your academics are good, but they're not good enough to get past the companies, just like general checks and balances that chucks candidates out to whittle down a nice list for them to look at.
And the other side of that is you can have a 4.0 and be the hardest person to understand or most socially inept person ever. And that will kick you out of the running for internships. Have run into that many times with many of my friends. I have been fortunate enough to have have had internship experiences based on not knowing anybody in the company, walked up to a booth at a career fair and was able to interact with the representatives there enough that they liked me enough that they thought I was qualified for this job, and I was able to get in the door. But 9 times out of 10, it's who you know, not what you know.
Yeah, for me, that's 100% how it works. It's like I couldn't get my foot in the door on any company. I interview with them, it wasn't right fit, didn't like it, and then I had a friend that got me my first internship, and that was great. A friend got me my first internship at a local company down near Rolla, and that was great because I was able to stay in the apartment I was living in Rolla and um, work and actually get engineering experience over the summer. And then when it came to applying for an actual job, I was struggling just as much, but also wasn't looking. And then alumni friend of mine that was on the Mars River Design team sent out a message on our group chat and was like, hey guys, no one's at our booth, want to come apply, we'll take anyone and we can almost guarantee you an interview. And that, like, him vouching and saying, like, yeah, this is a good kid, like, we should interview him, got me a job. It's like, that got me my job where I am right now. And so grateful, so thankful for those opportunities that my friends provided for me. Thanks, Kyle and James.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug, thanks guys. Wouldn't be here without you. But a big thing that you have to remember is that at your university, 90% of the time, the people interviewing you are the alumni from your university. They are not the pencil pushers from the company you're applying for. Occasionally, that's what happens.
Every once in a while.
But vast majority, especially here in the Midwest, whether you're in Kansas or Missouri or even Illinois, you will get the engineers and the alumni from your university coming up. They know whether or not you're lying on your resume or not because they know what's going on at the university. They either still have friends that are there. Like, I've got a lot of friends, and I'm now included in that list, that do interviews down at S&T. And we know when someone comes up and it's like, they're like, oh yeah, I'm on the rocket design team. And we're like, yeah, I know all the kids on the rocket design team, and I know you're not on.
They'll walk up and say, I designed the recovery system for this year's rocket all by myself. And we'll go, no, you didn't.
Yeah, it's like, we know, unfortunately, it's just something you've got to realize is that we all know each other and we're all friends. And it's like, as much as you're thinking that these are the, like, alumni or they're just higher ups, like, they'll be the older kids, like 2, maybe 3 years older than you, and they know the kids that are currently leading your design groups or leading your organization because they were once a part of it, and you may have no clue whatsoever.
Well, and little sidebar with that, like how you were talking about how you got your job, the older members of your design teams or your research groups or the professors that are advising or sponsoring those programs are great resources for getting jobs like that and just getting contacts, just networking. Yep. Even those, definitely tap into that because there's a lot of potential in those contacts.
Tap into it, but biggest thing, just don't want resume because we'll catch you. We'll know. It's obvious. The moment we start asking you questions and you know nothing about it, we know. It's like, I know exactly what's going on a lot of the groups down on campus because I still have friends since I worked in the design center. So it's like, I worked there. I know all the staff there. I can ask any of them questions about what the project going on or it is and weed out who's telling me the truth and who's not. And things you just don't think about like that, where we know the staff that well. we can get any information we want about what you guys are actually doing. So you can't get away with like maybe you slip through on a random company that knows nothing about you, but vast majority of the time we get it. It's like I see it all the time in our alumni group chat from the different design teams. It's just like, hey, we got an interviewer from says they were on this design team. Did any of you guys know them? And when everyone comes back with a resounding no, that's not good for you.
And that kind of tails into one of the points further down on our list. Engineering is a very tight-knit community, and so if you lie on your resume, you could get blacklisted from, like, half the industry, because everybody talks to each other. A lot of, especially engineering, there's a lot of contracts that a lot of companies all have a hand in, especially with our industry, with aerospace and mechanical type stuff. It's, yeah, if you mess up with one company, it's pretty well known around the whole industry that you messed up.
Yeah, and you're thinking like, oh, but Boeing doesn't want to talk to Lockheed Martin or Skunk Works or something like that. It doesn't matter. I guarantee you that a manager at that company knows a manager at another company or knows someone at another
or
company.
Used to work there.
Or used to work there. And so they'll start calling around and being like, have you any of you guys ever heard of this kid? And the moment they get one, yeah, we heard about him, he was super rude or anything like that, they strike your name off the list and move on.
Or he was a no-show for the interview, and then they're like, oh, okay.
Don't skip interviews.
Yes.
If you get an interview, doesn't matter if you've already landed your like dream interview and like dream internship, but you have like 5 interviews scheduled and you nailed the first one, which was the one you wanted. You go to the other 4.
Or at least call back and cancel it, because a lot of times there's kids waiting to hear back if another time slot opens up. I know I had that happen where I got some callbacks, and I go, well, I've already got an internship. Sorry, I'm not interested anymore. Thank you for your time. And they went, okay, cool, thank you. That just opened up another slot for someone else to interview with us. And so it's just common courtesy. It's building that professionalism, that gracious professionalism. A little bit there. Sorry. Sidebar, I was never in first robotics, but I really wanted to, so I'm just eating it up with him. But yeah, you need to start working on that professional attitude as early as freshman year in college, because it's really going to help you in the long run.
Yeah, and you're thinking like a couple bad interviews with a company, it will hurt your chances, but dozens of bad interviews for one company with a particular school will get the school blacklisted from a company. NASA refuses to interview at Missouri S&T because over the last 10 years, they've had more skipped interviews than made interviews. And by that, I mean like per year that they came here, they interviewed like 2 kids out of the 30 or 40 that they had scheduled to interview. And that type of disrespect towards the company is enough for the company to be like, yeah, I don't care if you've got students that really would love to work for NASA. You guys disrespected us, so we're not coming back.
You blew your chance, so sorry. And so then that hurts my generation, where it was kids as early as, or as late as your class had NASA interviews, and my school or my class didn't even know that NASA had ever come to the school because we didn't have that opportunity. And so your actions, you may not think have an effect on even just other people around you, but yeah, it definitely can have an effect on the system as a whole. So be considerate of your actions and responsible. I'm assuming you guys are all responsible as it is, but...
And we've had kids that still have gotten internships and jobs at NASA, but to get that, they had to go to NASA. They had to pay to fly out and interview at NASA, at whatever site they were trying to get a job at, because NASA wasn't coming to them. So things like that can still be done, but it takes an extreme effort and will from you to show them that you want this, for them to even consider it. I've got a couple friends that work for NASA, and we're all just like, dude, that's awesome. Because none of us had that opportunity, but none of us also ever had really the drive to want to just go and attack after that job like they did. And they just really wanted it. And they showed it, and NASA responded saying, that's awesome. We like you. Come interview.
This can kind of tie into our little bit of COVID discussion. We have a pre-COVID college student and a during COVID college student. And I can tell you that all of the face-to-face interactions that we've been talking about a little bit, that's not a thing anymore with COVID right now. Like, we had a virtual career fair that I didn't even go to it. It was terrible. I don't think I heard one good comment about the whole thing. It was a like, thanks for trying, but better luck next time kind of thing. And another point that we wanted to talk about, don't get lazy and skip classes. This goes for whether it's COVID or not, children. Don't skip classes.
Yeah.
Don't skip classes.
I was a pretty bad perpetrator of that. But I ran into an issue a lot of you guys are going to run into, where you start getting to your junior, senior year, and you're going to start recognizing the material, and you're going to know it better than any other student in the class because you're learning it right now. Whether you had Mr. Walters teach it to you or any of the other teachers at Summit Tech, like, you know the material better than the other students because you've already seen it. It gives you a leg up. It's handy. But it also makes you lazy. Because why go to a lecture where I'm going to not learn anything new? But you still need to go.
Well, and even like S&T is really bad about, they have very specific ways things are taught. And so then they expect you to understand how to solve the problem a certain way, or it's set up a certain way for you to understand it, a certain methodology or whatever. And so even if you're just going to go and you don't even take notes, I can guarantee it's still better just to listen to the lecture than to skip it outright. Especially right now with COVID stuff, because like all of my classes are online right now. It's great. But I was one of the best students about going to class and never skipping and all of that fun stuff. And now I'm finding the motivation to get up in the morning to go to my Zoom class where I don't have to get dressed and don't have to actually pay attention because it's all recorded and I can go watch it later. And I don't really need to take notes because the professor's given us the notes on Canvas. It's very hard to find the motivation to keep caring about my classes, especially whenever I'm a very high-ranking office on a design team where I could be spending time on this project or doing this activity rather than watching this poor professor drone on about whatever subject that I'm not really paying attention to anyway. It's definitely taken a toll on my academics, but that's a lesson from me, children. Don't skip your classes and don't skip homeworks and don't think that, oh, it doesn't count for very much of my grade. I'll just do good on the tests. Because unfortunately, a lot of the S&T tests are meant for you to fail.
Yeah. And especially a lot of the freshman and sophomore classes, homework's worth a very large percentage of your grade. Now, as you get up there, homework drops down like 5% of your grade.
Yeah, and then it becomes more project-oriented.
Yeah.
And so then you're working with your groups, and then it's a little bit easier, and it's a little bit nicer, and as long as you have good time management skills, it's not bad.
Although most of us still end up doing it about a week before it's due.
The night before it's due.
That has to. And yeah, you're going to pull the classic college stuff of being up till 7 a.m. just before the class starts doing your homework.
Yeah.
But you'll do that a couple times and either decide you don't like it or you like it, and that'll kind of just define what you do. But skipping classes, like, it's hard not to. I mean, there are some classes where you're gonna hit where it'll be a repeat.
Well, and then there's also, I guess we are focusing on engineering stuff. Like, in college, you have to take your prereqs and stuff with all of your history and your economics and your English and all of that.
You think it'd be a repeat of high school? It's
not. And
not even close.
Those, as much as like you probably don't want to be in those, because I know you guys all love engineering as much as we probably do, and
some of you may not, and you're learning that now.
Yeah, it's good to learn it now.
good job.
Instead of spending 48 grand on a degree that you didn't want.
Yeah, or if you find out like 6 months in, or like through your first semester, that you don't like engineering, transfer.
Yeah.
Change
Get out of there.
Don't torture yourself on something that you're not good
at.
Like, find your passion and pursue it.
Yeah.
I don't care what it's in. It could be in singing for all I care.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to make that call. Even if you're 2 years into a degree, it's so much better to have wasted that money and to find what you love and then end up with a degree that you're actually going to use, that you actually are going to like using, and instead of being stuck in some desk job that you're going to hate for the rest of your life. And
yeah, so I started off, my first job out of college was a lot more paperwork than I thought it was going to be, like design work. And while I'm still at the same company, I've moved now to a more design-based role because I like design work. I don't like pushing paperwork. And there are engineers that love the paperwork.
Yes.
Don't know why. But they do. I don't understand them because I'm not one of those. I like to sit here and design things. I like getting my calipers out and measuring all sorts of little stuff. And
See, and then I'm the one that likes to do testing engineering stuff and simulations and.
Well, yeah, you like simulations. I like the other side of test engineering where you actually go pull stuff up.
Excuse you, I have my test fires with my motor burns. That is my baby.
Yeah, but I actually get to destroy things at work.
That's fair. But
It's technically not destroying them, but
well,
it's searching for weak points.
yeah, it's testing for failure.
Yeah. We're searching for bad units. That's always a good thing.
Something like we've talked about design teams a whole lot because that is that is one of the few hands-on experiences that we have left. Thank you, COVID. But some of my other classes, since I am a senior, it's very design based. It's very lab based, and so we have some senior design projects that that's actually what my satellite research is a part of, and you did the same thing. But we do have measures in place to limit the number of people in the lab, and we have sanitation rules and all of that. We have check-in and check-out, and certain times. There's a lot more limited time that the labs are available or the workshops are available for us. But we are making it work. We're still trying to get the same experience that he got a couple years ago versus what I get to deal with now. And S&T especially has done a great job of it. I know that a lot of schools have had to close down after Thanksgiving. We're recording this on my Thanksgiving break, and I'm going back for the last 3 weeks of the semester because we've done so well about handling COVID and keeping our numbers down. But it's definitely hard, and I'm sorry that you guys are going to be walking into it because I'm just getting out of it in the tail end of my college career. But we are trying to give you guys as best of an experience as we possibly can and trying to not limit as many things as we can because we understand that engineering is a very hands-on, technically based program that you guys have to get in there and learn how to do these things with your hands and do it yourself because learn by doing. You guys can't just read textbooks on how to run a simulation or how to make a drivetrain or anything like that. You have to be in there working on these things. And so that's what I think a lot of the colleges are really pushing for, making sure that you still get that educational value while maintaining a safe environment.
And there's just so much of the hands-on stuff that they're looking for any way to try and make it still relevant. And while we have tons of labs that you have to do, a lot of them they're having to do just virtually now, where instead of getting to perform the whole lab, you're just watching the lab.
A TA will do it in the lab, and you'll be on Zoom or something like that. Pardon me. And you'll just watch the lab being done, and then they'll just send you the data afterwards. And while it's not ideal, at least you get to do the lab and understand what's going on. The TAs are usually really good about answering any questions, at least in my experience. They'll be pretty good about answering questions whenever you are asking what they're doing with whatever equipment or whatnot.
Yeah. TAs, they're a lot better than they were. We've had some TAs in some of my lab classes where we asked them a question. They're like, I don't know, that's how the head professor of the department showed me how to do it. That's just the way I've been doing it. And just, what? It's I need you to understand this, and they've gotten a lot better at that, making sure that the TAs actually understand what's going on, because the TAs are our primary point of contact.
Especially with the labs, because that's normally the TAs run the labs. Because a lot of times you'll have a main lecture section, and that's what the professor runs, and that's the actual teaching part of it, where you get your homework and all that fun stuff, and your notes and all that, and then you'll take what you learn in that lecture and apply it in a lab. And then the lab section is usually just like a subset of that main lecture course, and then the TA will be running that lab, and it'll normally have something to do with the material you just learned, and so then you're applying your knowledge, and then you have a hands-on activity that reinforces the subject or the topic you've just covered.
All right, so
we had dinner. Apologies for the break.
Little break in filming now. Back to the wonders of transition. All right, so we're going to chat a little bit about, rather than just the transition between high school to college, but now the transition from college then into the real world as an actual practicing engineer, which is a transition that's in my opinion, it was actually harder than transitioning from high school to college. For me, it was weird. Going from high school to college, you went from having a pretty normal routine schedule to having the ups and downs and whims and woes of college life, where your schedule's varying semester to semester. Sometimes it varies week to week.
Or day to day.
That too. And it's just nothing's consistent. You get used to inconsistency being your consistency in a day to day. And then you jump straight into this job, and just one day you go from being a college student, and maybe you got 2 3 weeks break in between the end of your school year and the start of your job. Sometimes we'll push it off a couple months. Usually you don't want to have too much of a break because your student loans start kicking in pretty quickly if you've got those. So you need to be making money so you can actually pay off your student loans. Um, and so for me, it was this jump from inconsistency into consistency that was actually harder to get back to a normal schedule where I got up at the same time every day and I went to work, and just it got a little menial through the first 2 months until I started to lay into a pattern and actually felt good about it. But it just took 2 3 months to get used to it, which was really hard starting a new job, and you're going there for 8 to 9 hours a day just working.
See, I really enjoyed going to a 40-hour work week. Whenever I had my internship last or 2 summers ago, and because I too, like you, was on the very irregular, I guess is the word I want, irregular college schedule, and then was able to say, okay, work goes from 7 in the morning to 3 is whenever I get off,
Yeah.
3 in the afternoon, and after that you don't have to worry about work, and work stayed at work and home stayed at home. You got to do whatever you wanted to in the evening, and that was something I found very liberating, honestly, in my
Yeah.
first few weeks of work.
And I may have also just struggled with the fact that it was during the winter that I transitioned, because I graduated in December and started work in January. And transitioning in the time of year where you go to work in the dark and you come home in the dark and you spend all day inside a building and you never see daylight for 2 months, that was killer on me. Just not seeing daylight for 2 months hurt more than a lot of things did. But it was an odd transition, just going in and out. Um, One thing aside from just transitioning, as you become an actual engineer, there are so many different roles an engineer can serve. Like most people just think about engineers and they think about, oh, you just design and build cool stuff. There's so many different roles an engineer can serve, from product to production to test and design engineering,
Simulations. There's all kinds of, actually there's like
drafting.
sales engineers. Actually, I've seen a lot of people with actual technical degrees go end up being the sales engineer for their product or their project because they know the most about it and can talk about it the most.
Yeah.
There's like project managers and stuff that engineers, when you get a couple years of experience, you'll get put in.
Usually need about 7 or 8 to get up that high.
Yeah.
And that's on the minimum side, but it also is scary to think you're a 32-year-old kid managing a group. But yeah, well, you're still usually pretty young. Oh, why do you keep playing with the cat? Oh, well, he was attaching the pretty lights. Why did you have to bring him? Okay, whatever. All right, this is my cat. He's a little bit grumpy. And that's probably one of the hardest things to deal with when you're actually going to go apply for a job. You don't know what half the positions they're talking about mean, because school doesn't talk about the different roles an engineer serves unless you've researched it. And you've just got to sit down and spend 30, 40, 60, 100 hours, lots of time reading through job descriptions and go, is that what I want to do?
And sometimes the job descriptions aren't exactly what you'll be doing.
Yeah, that's even weirder. Because like a product engineer where I work was defined as like working and setting up a product, and all we actually did was push paper. That was not what I thought I was signing up to do. It was like, you're actually gonna, I was told I was actually gonna like be dealing with product, which I did, but it was more paperwork pushing than it was actually trying to figure out what's wrong. And even if we figured out what was wrong, we had to push paperwork to have someone else fix it rather than us fixing it. It wasn't my cup of tea. But some people, that's what they want to do. They want to go to work, find a problem, push some paperwork, and they're good.
And that's like when you were talking about like collaborate to graduate and like all the group projects, don't be afraid to take on roles that you're not necessarily comfortable with or not used to, because you might find out that, hey, I really like being the one that compiles all of the data and makes the pretty graphs and presents the data in a meaningful way. Or, oh, I really like being the one who goes through and edits the last paper and goes through and adds all the citations and or does the literature review on this or that. And try and use those assignments and those projects as ways to explore other positions that you might not have thought that you'd fit in. And then if you figure out, hey, I really hated that, it's just one project. It's no skin off your back. You're not committed to 2-year contract in that position where then you have to suffer through it every day.
A lot of jobs you're going to sign minimum is an 18-month agreement to stay in that position, which is a year and a half for those that don't do math well. Like that's a year and a half in a position, and you really need to make sure you know what your position you're signing up for is, and thoroughly research it. The other hardest thing is that you may read at one job and you're like, yeah, I like the description like test engineering, and you'll go to another company and they'll call it design engineering. What? And then nothing's named the same from company to company. You have to read at every company you apply for what job you want to do, and read the descriptions. The descriptions are what you want.
And it doesn't hurt at all, like if you do actually get to the interview stage, go ahead and ask the interviewer, what would I be doing on a daily basis? And that's where you can really determine, is this what I would want to do? And it's your interview, use your interview just as much of an interview of this potential employer talking to you as you're also interviewing that company.
Yeah. And when you're interviewing, avoid questions like, what's your favorite part about working at this company? A lot of companies, the moment you say that, that's their weed out question, and they just drop your name off the list. Like, they don't want to hear that question. It's the oldest question in the book. Don't even use it.
One of my favorites that I asked during my interview was, what drew you to this company? Like, why did you start here? And so then that gave them the opportunity to be like, well, it was because of the great benefits or whatever. And a lot of them were like, we did really cool projects, and I have a lot of like, or one of them was, well, my uncle worked here, and so I got an internship and stayed on the company because I've heard all the good things about it, or whatnot like that. It's a slightly different twist on it.
Yeah, and another thing I'll say is a lot of you will have parents that are engineers, and they work for local companies and businesses, or just even they work for a company you want to be an engineer at, or you think would be an easy one to get an internship at. Most of the time, you won't be able to get an internship there. You can get a job there when you graduate, but you won't be able to get an internship there unless it's a small company due to nepotism laws, which are annoying. So it can, as much as you think, like, I know all about this company, and I could at least intern there and get experience, the nepotism laws will keep you from getting to do that. Because my dad works where I work now, and I was like, oh, it'd be a good place to intern. It happened to just be where I was able to get a job with help of a friend, but.
Well, you guys are completely different departments.
Oh yeah, we're totally different departments.
You guys are around each other.
No, we don't even remotely interact.
So, like, that's a little bit different case, but yeah.
Yeah, only once have I had a project go through his department, and they had to specifically route it away from him. And that was annoying to them, and they're just like, this is obnoxious. I'm like, yeah, sorry. Like, the biggest thing that I always like to remember is someone else will always be there to look over your work. Don't feel like you're going to be super stressed that you're going to make a mistake. You're going to make a mistake, just period. Accept it. You're going to make a mistake. It's going to cost a lot of money. It'll happen. It's better to get it out of the way. Like, my first day on the job, I wrecked, what was it, $80,000 or $90,000 part. First day on the job. Like, yeah, that was a fun first day. When you're taken out there and they hand you a part and they're like, here, and the first thing you do is you fumble and drop it, and you're just like, and they're like, good thing that was a bad part already, and you're just, and they're like, because you just definitely scrapped it, and you're just like, how much does it cost at this level of production? And they're like, about 80 or 90 grand, and they're like, what's the final one cost? They're like, a couple $100,000. Like,
yeah. That's another thing is as engineers, you handle a lot of really expensive stuff. You get to play with a lot of really cool toys, but you'll be handling a lot of really expensive stuff. But believe me, the people in charge would not be letting you handle it if they didn't think that you could handle it.
Yeah.
And that's
And
what.
you'll make mistakes, but there's always someone there that's gonna help you pick you back up. I mean, you're gonna have to pick yourself back up. Period. You'll have learned that in college because college will kick you enough times. You have to figure out how to get back up to have graduated.
Yeah.
And you'll always have someone looking over your work. Like especially if you're doing design work, you always peer review everything.
It goes through like 3 levels of management for any design thing. Especially if it's like multiple companies are working on the same product. It's to make sure that like all the pieces fit together. There's so many design reviews.
Yeah, I have to submit designs not only to my company but to another design company, and usually I think one of my projects I have 2 or 3 additional design companies besides mine working on the same project. And trust me, that's weird when you're passing drawings around and everyone's like, "Well, what about a note here? And what about a note here?" And you get your drawing comes back in an email covered in red, blue, green, yellow, and purple from the different companies, and you're just like, "Okay, I'm gonna need a couple days to read through this." And you just kind of just start reading through one note at a time from each company.
But this whole like mentality that high school and college kind of breeds that like if you take an exam and then you fail it, you don't have a chance to make it up, and it's just like you failed. There's a lot more. One, it's a lot harder to fail whenever you're working because there's so many other people looking at it, and two, they want you to succeed.
Start at a specific job doesn't mean you have to stay at that job. I mean, a job may not be your end dream, but it's a job that gets you started, it gets you paid, it gets you going.
Don't be afraid to change your dreams because you might get in 5 years into a company and realize, you know what, I'm kind of done with this. I had fun. It was a good run, but now I want to go try something else. Yeah. Don't feel like you're stuck to the thing that you committed to whenever you were in college or anything like that.
22 years old, 23 years old, like, cool, you made a choice when you were still, by definition, very young. It's like you're not even old enough to rent a car. There's you can change your mind about how you feel about things. There are times that within a year you know that you're not a fit at the company. Don't be afraid to just leave. We are very different from our parents and our grandparents' generation that stayed at jobs for the entire time they were there just because that's the person that gave them their first job out of college. You're gonna find something that's more passionate for you, and you should be doing what you love to do day in and day out.
It's definitely not uncommon for a lot of engineers to have been with 3 or 4 different companies from all over the board, but they might spend anywhere from 1 or 2 years to 10 or 15 years with them. It all just depends on how well you fit into that company.
And there's a lot of places where you want to stay there usually 3 years. It looks really good on a resume to have a minimum of 3 years at a company, but sometimes it's just I started a job and my dream job opened up and I wasn't gonna wait to apply for it. And so you just jump on it. Full board. Just go for it. Having that level of audacity a lot of times to the company you're trying to hire into, showing that like I saw it, I wanted it, and I went after it, looks really good because they're like, you have a drive, you have a passion, you're gonna work hard, and they like that. And so even though you don't have the like time in a steady job that they'd like to see, the fact that you're a go-getter is what they want. Hey guys, so Walter's also wanted me to talk to you guys a little bit about my passions and the things I have gone to do outside of just work, things that I've just gone after. One of them is a large part of what I'm doing here is I'm actually recording this on YouTube. This is my YouTube channel, and I do all sorts of work on it. I've done everything from hobby rocketry to car work and other miscellaneous projects that are just things I'm having fun with. So we're going to take a look at a little bit of that, and I'm just going to kind of chat with you about how my passions have been influenced in ways I've gone about doing it differently. So a large portion of what people have seen on my YouTube channel and what you'll see there is my rocketry content. So these are 5 of my rockets. From right to left, we have Arrow, which was my level 1 certification, Pointy End Up, which was my level 2 certification, and then 3 rockets I've actually built here in 2020. Viper, which I built around May, June of 2020. Then I have Doing the Math, which I only recently built in the last month, and 3D Higher. Some of the unique things about, especially the 3 I built here in 2020, is 3D Higher is a completely 3D printed model rocket, and I'm really proud of the fact that I was able to completely 3D print a design from the ground up and fly it.
and it holds altitude it's hit is 553 AGL, which is above ground level, and I find that awesome. Then I've got Doing the Math, and this is Doing the Math 2. Doing the Math 1 kind of blew itself up, and there's video of that you guys can go see, and hopefully there'll be video soon of Doing the Math 2 flying. But it's actually a booster rocket with electronics. So the two outside boosters will light, thrust the rocket up into the air, and then when these burn out after a certain set amount of time, the electronics, and there's a whole altimeter set in here, will separate the boosters and light the core engine and keep it flying up higher. And so that's just kind of me messing around with air starts and boosters. Kind of two projects in one, but I think it's going to be really cool when it's done. Then I've also got Viper, which Viper, there's a lot of content on, is a cluster core engine. So it's got 4 in cluster, 1 E or F in the center, with 3 C's on the outside. And I've got a lot, I believe I did 5 flights of Viper, and she took some hard impacts when I crashed the first couple times. And when it comes to odd projects, there's also things like this flag I made here. I just made a flag because I wanted to practice burning wood and making something. So I went and cut a bunch of little strips out of scrap wood I had, burnt the stripes that would have been red, left the white ones white, burnt the field blue, and then I had some fun with it, and I cut out the IPL logo I use that you'll see on my channel and put it in the center here. And I like to use this as a backdrop, and I also just think it looks cool in my living room. But that's most of my rocket content, so let's jump out to the shop real quick. Alright, so we're side-tacked, or not quite in the shop yet. This is just my garage. But in here, this is called a Pulse. This is one of my project vehicles, and it's actually kind of my rolling test bed for another one of these vehicles. They were built back in the 80s. This one was built in 1989 and is Unit 328, as shown by the nice tail markings. Built in 1989 and is Unit 328. I also know that because it's on the VIN. The VIN says 328. But this is a Pulse built by the Owasso Motor Car Company. And the original design of these, which was called Lightstar, was built by the Tomorrow Corporation, and OMCC, or Owasso Motor Car Company, was one of the manufacturers. So this is a really, really awesome vehicle, and we've got another one of these. We actually have Scranton 1, which I'll show you here in a moment. And it was the first production vehicle, and so this has been my rolling test bed as I've been trying out new ideas, from mirrors to tail lights to blinkers, just trying to come up with different ways to do things and doing custom work. But since this one runs, unlike the other one we have, I've been able to actually test stuff on this, and I've got some videos about Pulse 328 here. But let's actually jump into the shop now. Alright, so this is my shop. It's a little bit of a mess, but it just kind of tends to live in a state of mess. And this is a large portion of why I own this property that I live on, is this shop. It is 50 by 30, and 50 foot by 30 foot to be clarified, and it allows me tons of space to just build things. So I've got storage all along the sides. I've even got a little CNC router over here I've been messing with. I've got a 3D printer in my office, but this is just too messy to keep in the house. But when we look at just projects I've been working on, this is Scranton Lightstar 1. The Lightstar was designed by the Tomorrow Corporation and engineer Jim Beatty. And there's all sorts of stuff you can find on this online. I'll have a website about these listed in my description below that you guys can check out. But this is Scranton Lightstar number 1. So the Tomorrow Corporation had 2 different companies that built the Lightstars. The Scranton Manufacturing Company out of Scranton, Iowa, and the Owasso Motor Car Company out of Michigan. So this was Scranton Lightstar number 1, and was built in 1982. This was the first production vehicle, and there's only one known vehicle that was built before this, but it goes by the designation the BD200. So this is Scranton Lightstar 1, and this has pretty much been in my family the entire time it's ever been on the road. My grandfather worked for Scranton Manufacturing, and he was the original owner of this vehicle before my dad bought it off him, before my parents were married, because that would be my mom's dad that worked for Scranton. And so I've been working on restoring this vehicle because I haven't had it running since 2014 when I managed to get it to turn over for, I think, 2 total days, and it died again on me. But one of the things I've been working on is upgrading the riggers to use a new type of wheel, and I've been working on all sorts of small little things. But I started running into the issue that I just couldn't test a lot. I couldn't do a lot with this because I didn't want to make mistakes. This car means a lot to me personally, and I've got a lot of emotions invested in it because this car's been around as long as I've been alive. I've never known a day where this thing wasn't in the garage at my dad's house. And I just couldn't bear to make a mistake on it. And so that's where when we got Pulse 328, and my dad has Pulse 324 at his house, it allowed me to do a lot of work on this vehicle without working on this vehicle and making mistakes here. But I was also noticing that there were other things that I needed to practice, and I wasn't wanting to practice them on this. So I started this project. This is formerly known as Project Galadrigal. Yeah, it's a mouthful to say, and it's a nightmare to spell, which is often why it just goes by DT1, which stands for Death Trap 1. I like to make the joke that that is similar to the break-a-leg statement in showbiz, or if you call it by what it's the worst thing it could be, it is least likely to be that. So right now the wheels and tires are actually off it because I'm in the middle of mounting the steering and brakes up to it. And just for some sneak peeks on that, here's the steering functioning. And then I don't have the brakes tied in yet, but I've got calipers and rotors, and I'm going to be pulling brakes here in the next day or two. But doing this has allowed me to practice a lot of my welding, which was a very new skill to me. And you can see I got mistakes out the wazoo all over this thing, but I've also got some areas where my welds are just gold. And it's just been a chance for me to learn. I also got a tube bender and was able to practice bending tubes because I'll need to make some bent tube parts for the Light Star as I'm going on. But I forgot this thing's not balanced very well. But this has just kind of been a little fun side project for me to try and practice my manufacturing skills and my ability to do things. So this project was born out of a need to learn. And it's got a lot of work left to go on it just because I have steering and brakes and I can put headlights and blinkers on it real quick. You notice there's kind of an engine missing. And so this is actually going to end up being another what's known as an autocycle. So both the Light Star and the Pulse that I've already shown you are known as autocycle, which means they have 3 wheels on the ground at all times. Not 4. And this thing will also have 3 wheels on the ground. So it's going to be 2 in front, 1 in back, being a reverse trike, which is formerly known as an autocycle. So it'll look a lot like a Polaris slingshot, except for it has a full roll cage. But the engine will actually be in the back, and my plan is to actually run it off a motorcycle engine. So I've got just, this is one of the old engines that came out of Light Star, and so I've just got it sitting back here to kind of go, well, that's what an engine would look like, but still trying to figure out the best direction on motor for this thing. But this shop has been, honestly, my favorite thing I've ever found, because I personally am one that just needs space to tinker. If I don't have the space to work on projects, I don't work on projects. And so by getting this shop, I was able to go and snag tools from my dad's house, find things at auctions or local flea markets, and just get tools up and running. And so you get your scroll saw, your bandsaw, your belt sander from Home Depot, and your engine hoist, and you just start picking up the parts for tools you need. And next thing you know, you're making projects, and you're just trying things. And here's a scope. So I found a stereoscope at a flea market. Thought it was awesome. Honestly, my sister loves these things, so we're going to try and probably release this after Christmas when my sister won't see it. And then I built this new one. And so I've been trying to see if I can actually build my own stereoscope. And so I've got lenses on order, and I'm going to actually try and make my own stereoscope and make it functional. And just fun little project like that. I just had a whim of an idea one day, and because I have the tools at my disposal, I was able to just go try them. And a lot of it is about your drive to do something and your willingness to do something. I could have sat down with a file and a handsaw and done it. I'm just not that type of individual. If it's not inherently easy, I don't tend to do it, or I tend to spend a lot of time trying to make it inherently easy, because I don't like to do projects that are going to drive me up the wall and make me insane for months on end, even though this has technically been making me insane for years. And I mean, one day I want to actually build another one of these from scratch, ground up, and I'd like to do that. And I've got a bunch of designs for. The biggest thing I can say is use college to explore your passions. I found that I love manufacturing, I love designing, I love actually building it. Having parts in hand that I made, like full parts that were my own creation, is just what makes me happy. And so being able to sit down and cut pieces of steel and aluminum out, or even cut out wood and just make a part and make something, it makes me happy. It fulfills my day, and just oftentimes I'll spend hours out here in the evening, and it's just what makes me happy. So all I can say is follow your passions, let them guide you, let them drive you. You can do anything you put your mind to, as long as you're willing to sacrifice for it. And honestly, I sacrificed quite a bit to be able to follow some of my passions. But thanks for watching all of this, guys. I know it's been quite lengthy between Kelsie and I talking about school, and now me talking a little bit about just general passions. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Mr. Walters will also have me on at some point for a Q&A session. Maybe we'll be able to get Kelsie on there as well, since she currently knows what the current college status is like. But until then, thanks for watching, guys. Please check out my other videos, and if you really like what you're seeing, consider subscribing and stick around to see what other crazy projects I'm looking for. And with that, we'll go out on this awesome